Hi there, my name is Thanh from Asian Efficiency, and welcome to the interrogation series where I will interrogate people about their productivity habits and their hacks. And today I have two very special guests, Marc and Angel from marcandangel.com. And I want to sort of give you a different perspective on how they do things because they're very inspirational, they're very good at what they do. And Marc, Angel, welcome to the interrogation series.
Thank you.
So I'm going to drill down a little bit about what you guys do exactly, and then also how you guys stay productive, because I've noticed you guys get a lot of stuff done, and I want to give the viewer sort of an idea of how you guys approach things.
Absolutely.
Okay. So one of the things people always want to know is sort of what you guys do on a day-to-day basis. So could you tell them a little bit about what you do and then talk a little bit about what your day looks like?
Absolutely. So we run a website, marcandangel.com, and we focus exclusively on the psychology of happiness and the intricacies of what it means to live a good life. And for us, this is very much a journey. Our blog, without going into detail, started from our own personal journey. The adversities we were going through, the ups, the downs, the struggles, the life lessons we were learning. And we were using our site as a creative outlet and a kind of a public journal of this. And as time went on, it caught on through social media. And even today, with the traffic and a very large audience, especially for kind of a dual author, a family-run blog, we focus still on the lessons and the adversities that we're dealing with, and we explore those openly online, and I think that's why a lot of people resonate with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis? Like, what does your typical day look like, Angel?
I would say I wake up and first and foremost I hydrate myself. So
Yep.
I drink a couple glasses of water and then I pretty much get straight to work. I like to check the previous day's stats. So I like to see what happened the day before and what was positive, what we can celebrate. So I like to celebrate the successes as we start our day. So I'll announce it like, oh, yesterday was a great day in traffic, or yesterday this happened. So I really like to start our day off on a positive note. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I dive right into work. I get work done. I take a little break for lunch starting in the afternoon. Then I do a couple more hours of work. And then from there, I like to go to the gym. So I take a break, probably late afternoon, around like 3 or 4-ish, take a break, go to the gym, work out, get a little energy going, and then I come back, do a little bit of work, and then it's time for dinner and wrap it all up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think Angel brings a great point to the table with kind of that feedback loop with kind of addressing our successes every single morning. Mm-hmm. That's a big one, a big driver of motivation for us.
Yeah, like it jumpstarts your day.
Yeah.
It really does, yeah. And
well, especially on a positive note,
Yeah, this was something that she started, and it's so important to kind of keep you focused on, why you're doing what you're doing. Have that feedback loop that, like what we're doing each day is actually working. So Angel definitely focuses more on business and customer support and our product sales. And so when she wakes up and she does her work, that's kind of what she gets to. I'm definitely more focused on content creation, writing, idea development, and we split these duties. So it's just she's a little bit more business centric. I'm a little bit more of the creative side of things, but there's a lot of bleed over. So my day really, I look at obviously having a content driven website. Content is exclusively important for us.
Yep.
Getting the right ideas together and sharing those ideas. So for me, it's writing. So I wake up and I, eliminate the distractions as much as possible, and I get to work for about 4 hours. I go in like a 4-hour, just straight at it, writing, and I make sure that I get my time in on that. And then, like Angel said, we'll take a break for lunch. We'll go out, do something, maybe something we really enjoy to do to kind of break it up, and then get back in the afternoon. And it's either more writing for me or it's helping Angel with some of the business side of things. So it just sort of depends on the day. But I know that first, that first gap of time in the early part of the day, those first 4 hours are most important.
So since you guys work from home and you guys do stuff together, do you guys coordinate your breaks together, or do you guys like take separate breaks, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely do. We work a lot together, and maybe that's unusual sometimes for a husband-wife. But our I guess the gap between work and play for us sometimes like that it's a very blurred line. So we do a lot together. But when it comes to business, I think you have to be aligned in business. So I mean, she can't be over playing on the computer when I'm trying to get work done, and vice versa. So yeah, I say for that first 4 hour gap in the morning, and then we break together, and then we go back at it for another 4 hours. And then after that, sometimes in the evening, as Angel said, we will work later. It just depends. I mean, usually that's more fun stuff like strategizing. But yeah, it's very much aligned on work days, on the days that we're trying to focus.
Well, and some of our breaks too are just getting up and walking around for a minute, and being goofy or saying something funny and laughing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
sometimes that's our break, but the break is only a minute or two, but just, you're getting that itch sitting in your computer chair. So I would say that that's not scheduled, but it's nice when you get that break and you laugh and you smile and you're like, something goofy happened.
Yeah.
So we do get up and walk around every now and then get back to work.
Yeah, I mean, right. You got to leave like room for that as well. I can say 4 hours, and for the most part, that is true. Get 4 hours of work done, but it's not 4 straight hours. Obviously, you need to get up and stretch yourself like once an hour at
Absolutely.
least. And so, yeah, we kind of coordinate that. Like one of the two of us will get up out of our desk and stretch, and then the other one will follow suit, and we'll stretch for a few minutes and just kind of talk and chat and do something, maybe put on a song or something like that.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've noticed being with you guys and hanging out with you guys is that you guys like to change environments a lot, right?
Oh, yes.
Like when you work from home, it's sometimes really challenging to just stay focused all the time because you're in the same environment. Sometimes there's no stimulus to sort of like pump you up and like get you refocused. And why like is there a specific like time of the day you guys like to do that, or is it like more of a feeling thing where if you just don't feel like it, you're just gonna change environments? Because we talk a lot about that in the productivity blueprint, like when you can't focus or when you're procrastinating a lot, sometimes the easiest thing to get around that is to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
We don't start a day saying, oh, we're going here. Like today is Monday. We don't say, oh, Tuesday we're going to go to a coffee shop. It's a feeling. It's when you start the day and you're sitting down and getting ready to work and you're just not feeling it for some reason. So it's on those days that we make the decision, okay, I think I'll be a little bit more productive if I get out of this house because I'm being lazy or the energy's just not there. So I think for us, it's more of when you get that feeling, then
Absolutely.
it's like, okay, let's get out of the house. Let's change the environment.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that helps. It mix it up. And Angel's so good about like saying, okay, if we're going to leave the house, if we're going to leave the home office, and we're going to go to a coffee shop or a library to get work done, then there's something specific that I'm going to get done before I leave there. I mean, that and Angel kind of brought that to the table as she really like this was a productivity hack that she's kind of developed, and now I follow it as well. Like if we leave the home office and we go to one of our favorite coffee shops here is Medici. We go to Medici and we get some work done. We're not going there just to change environment. We're going there to get something done.
Yeah.
And before we leave there, it should be done.
I think it's so easy when you're working from home. It's so easy to kind of get lost or get sucked into other things that are grabbing your attention. But when you change your environment and go to the library, I like to tell myself, okay, I have to complete this task before I can leave. And there are some times where I'm ready to leave, but I'm like, I can't leave because I haven't finished the task. And then it makes me finish the task and have like laser focus. So.
It goes right back to our can't versus don't. I don't leave here because I'm not done with this,
Right.
And sometimes we step it up, even one notch above that is we'll leave the home office, go to one place, maybe we'll go to a library for a little while, and we'll kind of be getting antsy there, and so then we'll go to a cafe or a coffee shop. And so each individual location has its its set of tasks, or maybe one task that just should be done before we leave.
Now, you guys run an online business, right? And it's just the two of you right now.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Yep.
just working from home, like living the dream, right? And one thing I admire about you guys is that you guys do everything that deals with running an online business. Like you gotta write content, you gotta do customer support, you gotta do the accounting, you gotta do all this stuff. So obviously being productive is very important to you. But like, how would you explain that to someone else who, wants to start like their own business or do stuff on their own? How would you sort of explain to them why being productive is important?
Like you said, it's just us two. So if we don't do it, it's not going to get done. It's not like you can say, oh, I didn't do it. Maybe this person's going to do it for me. They're going to notice that it didn't get done. It's one of those situations where if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And there's not even an option that it can't get done.
So true. It's all in our hands. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. A lot of times when you're starting off a business, a lot of solo entrepreneurs these days, or very small businesses with like partnerships, like you and Aaron. You've got to be intensely focused on what you've got to get done because there's nobody else to do it. It's like if I'm not doing it and Angel's not doing it, nobody's doing it. So that's a.
I also think that I think of the impact of it not getting done. For example, I do a lot of the social media, and so if I don't do it, it's not getting updated. Therefore, our audience is not getting our knowledge and our inspiration that we like to spread that they come to our site expecting.
Yeah.
So if I'm not doing it, then I'm letting them down.
That's a great point. Like impact on the core message. Like our core philosophy is, helping people. That's really the baseline. The foundation of everything we do is to help other people. And as Angel said, the impact is, are people being helped? Are the people that are coming to our site actually leaving with a better mindset, with just a nugget of information that helps them out get through their day, be them whether they're dealing with an adversity or what, it just depends. I mean, we cover a lot of content, but the only way to assure that they are is to be productive. So it goes down to impact. Yeah, like there's only the two of us, and only the two of us are creating this message and creating this environment for our readers. And if we don't get it done, then the message doesn't spread.
Now, what I really liked about what you just said was that you visualize the negative consequences of when you don't do something, right? This is something we talk a lot about in the productivity blueprint. For example, if I know that I need to be at a certain place to meet my friend, and I like, for example, in that moment, I'm just not feeling like going, I'll start to think about the negative consequences of me not going. And then all these things will start appearing in my head, like, oh, I'm a bad friend, or I'm going to let my friend down, they're going to be mad at me. And usually when that comes up, it will sort of propel me to actually go, even though I don't feel like going. So some people are really driven by that. And I think it's sort of, it can work in the short term, but it's not like a long-term strategy that I would advise for other people. Now, on the flip side, where you guys really focus on is sort of the positive aspect, right? Like you have a certain destination or a certain purpose or a goal that you want to have or achieve, and use that as sort of a motivational target point to go after, and then use that to push yourself to move forward, right?
Absolutely. I would say we're really big on like consistency. Like you're saying, you have an ultimate goal that you want to reach. And so for us, we're concentrating on content and traffic. And so if we don't put out a certain amount of posts, we won't get traffic for that day, and it won't ultimately help us reach our goal. So we've really tried to focus on consistency.
Yeah, consistency. But as along the lines of what you're saying, we're running towards a goal. Like we don't want to run away from the fact that if we don't write or we don't spread the message, like bad things are going to happen, because that's not really the case. The problem is that if we don't write, we're not reaching that goal. We want to be running towards something, and that goal is to help others. So that's kind of the main driving factor, not running away from the failures that would occur if we didn't do it, but just we truly believe in the purpose of helping others and helping others spread, through the positive messages that we spread. So it's all kind of it's all focused on what we do on a day-to-day basis. We've got to be productive on a day-to-day basis to achieve that goal, and we strongly believe in that goal, so we're moving towards it.
So is that one of your big whys for the things you do?
Absolutely. I would say 100%, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to have a purpose. There's got to be an underlying purpose for everyone. Would you agree? I mean,
absolutely.
And our reason, our why is everyone's gonna have a different answer to what that why is, but you've got to have it. an example I like to use a lot is that it's much better to be at the bottom of the ladder you want to climb than the top of the ladder you don't want to climb. And too often times, unfortunately, people find themselves halfway up the ladder they don't want to climb before they even realize there's a problem. And that's about the why. It really is. Like, it's not like what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, but ultimately what am I trying to achieve? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And it's that journey. It's the journey, not necessarily the destination. And so the destination is important. Like, yes, we want to help people. We want to, like, that is the goal, is to help others. But on a day-to-day basis, it's the little things that we do to help others. And that's why every day we wake up and we celebrate those successes on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Knowing why you're wanting to achieve something will help you be more productive. So understanding the end path and why you want to get there, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it can be said dramatically by saying, like, it's better to die your way than to live someone else's version of your life. And that's the why. That is the why. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? And it can't be all based around like fluff and passion necessarily. And it's not that passion is fluff, but some people think that it is. Like, oh, well, it can't just be all about doing what you're passionate about. And that's true. You've got to. I mean, we've got to feed our families. We've got to bring in an income. We've got to provide. But some of those things become the why. Like, maybe the job that you have right now isn't perfect, but you love your wife and you love your children, and there's parts of your life that are unbelievable, and that can be your why. And you can use that why to, not escape, but to transition, to grow past some of the parts of your life you don't like into parts that you do. So I think the why is just, man, that's a big one for us, and we do focus on that quite a bit.
Yeah, that's why we put a lot of emphasis for people to figure out what that is. So we have like an exercise in there to help people with that. Because I've noticed if you really don't know it, you sort of go through life like with no purpose. Like, you just live day to day. You live. It's almost like living a reactive life. Like, you just respond to whatever comes to you, and just deal with that. But you're never moving sort of forward on the things that drive you, that make you ultimately happy, I think. And that's what's so great about you guys is every day I see you guys are like focused on the mission, focused on doing the things you got to do best, which is all related to your why. Like, whether that's producing content or connecting with people online on social media, or doing offline events with meetups. Like, everything is sort of tied into that why. It's just a different way of expressing it, but then it's all aligned as well with what you do day to day.
Well, I think that's the ultimate goal too, is to find something you love doing and you work at it, and then you almost can't even differentiate work and play.
Yes, absolutely. That's actually the ultimate, like, and that takes time. That takes a lot of growth to grow into that, I mean, Angel and I run a successful online business, and we have a blog that gets a substantial amount of traffic and a lot of interaction and readership. But that's a long process kind of to get there, many years of work, but we had the why. And I think that for anybody, running your own business, working your way up, a corporate America career ladder, it really, you have to maintain that focus. Like, what is your purpose, and can you align the work and the play a little bit? Can you be passionate about it? Can you use what you're doing now to kind of shift yourself into a position that kind of aligns more with your purpose?
Yeah, because one thing I've noticed is a lot of people are really good at starting things, but they're horrible at finishing things, or staying just like long enough on track to actually being in a position to finish things. Like, you guys have been doing this for so long, and I think part of the success of that is because you know why you're doing it. Right? When you don't know why you're doing it, it's very easy to sort of stop doing it, because any sort of obstacle or stumbling block will just, like not kill your journey, but like really halt it and just stop it. And then what else are you going to do then?
Well, I also think that some people think there's an end goal. I mean, it's evolving. It's never like we're never going to reach a certain status where we're like, okay, that's it, we're done. It's just an ongoing journey. So I think some of those people who start early, it's almost because, I don't know, I think it's because they think there's an end. They think there's, but there's no end. It's just a journey. Like it's continuing to build and have that success. And
totally agree. Yeah, I mean, that's why you've got to be in love with the why. I mean, you've got to have that purpose, because that's what gets you through the day to day. You know, like cliche maybe, but right now is life. You've got to live it. On a day to day basis, there should be joy. There should be purpose. And that's part of productivity, is having a purpose. You don't just do things to do things. You do things to get things done, ultimately for something that is rewarding. You know, there's some type of end goal, but the goal's not necessarily, the big goal is not what's most important. It's the steps that you take to get there.
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on you know, people giving up, people starting something but not finishing them. And that's really, I think that why helps, but it's also about ownership. Like Angel talks a lot about that too, and she's actually helped me out with that. Owning that, you know, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you can achieve. Like, don't give up on yourself. I think a lot of times the reason people might, you know, start a business, an online business or an offline business, and give up is because they almost give up on themselves. You know, maybe even before, like, you've got to go through various stages, obviously, but like you've got to just do it day in and day out. You know, I mean, for the longest time we wrote into a black hole. You know, nobody was reading what we wrote, and quite frankly, we weren't writing for others in the beginning. We were writing for ourselves.
Yeah.
It was our personal journey. But you almost have to expect that. I mean, we didn't want, our purpose wasn't to write for others, but we wrote anyway because it was for us. You know, and so that's why you've got to have the alignment to the why. You've got to be doing it for yourself, and not for others. You know, giving you feedback, or you know, it's got to be for you, and there's got to be a reason why. And if you're a writer, you've got to write. You don't stop. And if you're a runner, you got to run, and you don't stop. You know.
Now, what happens when, for example, there's a feeling where you just don't want to do things, like you know, some people call it procrastination, some people call it other things, but you know, there are days, you know, we're all human here, you know, nobody's perfect, but there are days where you wake up and you just say to yourself, okay, today is one of those days where, okay, maybe, you know, I'm not going to get a lot of things done. Like, what do you do when such a thing happens?
Well, step one is we try to get out of the house, and that's when they change the environment. But I think what really helps me is I almost try to schedule those days in that I don't have to be productive. So then I don't feel as though, so for example, for me, Sundays are the days where I'm just like, you know, the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, it's like, okay, you know I still need to get a couple things done, but if I want to sit on the couch and watch TV for a couple hours, or if I just want to be lazy and go for a walk, it's okay. I don't have to be productive on those days. So I almost think that for me, scheduling those days and having those days makes it easier for me to be productive on the other days, because I know, okay, on this day, I'm going to get a break. So
Absolutely, yeah.
No, I talk about that a lot as well, is sort of the idea of the quality of your downtime will, you know, affect the quality of your productive time, quote unquote. It's like, if you can schedule in on Saturday, I'm not going to do anything at all and just watch reruns of my favorite TV shows, then usually if you like what you do and you enjoy your work, then you usually get that itch of, okay, I want to get back into that.
Well, and it also makes you more productive on Friday. Because you're like, well, I want to get all of this stuff done so I can truly enjoy and take that break on Saturday. So you're almost, for me personally, I'm more productive on that Friday or the day before I'm going to take a break, because I want to make sure I have everything completely done so I can feel free and relax and enjoy the break.
Yeah, rest is part of productivity. I mean, that's what we sometimes forget. You know, it's like there's the one end of procrastinating and not doing anything, and then there's the other end of like just running yourself ragged. And so it's about focus, and then it's about rest, and that rest is equally as important as the focus.
So how do you guys stay focused then? Because you guys are running an online business, right? When you run a business, there's always stuff going on, right? And especially with the size of your audience, there's always people trying to reach you, and there's you know, you have other stuff with family and friends and other commitments, so there's always a lot of stuff going on. So how do you guys then stay focused?
For me, it's about building habits. You know, it's about having the goal that you're going for, and then the daily habits, the routines. I think in the productivity world, you guys call them systems. But yeah, really, like, if my goal is to write a book, then my system is what am I doing every day? What am I writing every day? It's really about that 4-hour block of time in the morning and the time in the afternoon that I'm dedicating to getting the job of writing done. For a coach, it might be to win the national championship, but it's like, how are they training their people on a day-to-day basis to achieve that goal? That's the system. So it's that routine, that habit, the habit formation to get the job done on a day-to-day basis.
I would agree it's a habit, because even with traveling, like if I go visit my family, it's certain things I still do every day, even though I'm visiting my family and removed, since it is just the two of us. We do have work we have to do. We can't necessarily take a week off without internet access. So there are certain habits that are just ingrained into us. Like, I know when I wake up, I'm going to do these tasks. I'm going to check social media. I'm going to queue it up for the entire day. So I think habits is a huge one in terms of that's just what we do. Like, that's part of our waking up process. That's part of our daily process is to do that. But also in terms of focus, I think it's just a matter, like we kind of tapped on before, is just having that passion and having that mission and that personal goal of what you're striving for, and knowing that and understanding that. And as we continue to strive for it, I mean, we're not going to get there if we're taking a break and not getting anything done.
Yeah. Knowing what you're trying to achieve and building your day-to-day, like acting on a day-to-day basis in that way, I mean, you've got to have the system down. You've got to have the habits down that you're following on a day-to-day basis. You can't constantly be thinking about like the goal or anything else that's going on. It's got to be, I have this routine, I have this habit that I'm going to follow, and that really helps us stay focused.
Yeah, that's I really like that, because then you don't rely on sort of self-discipline or like willpower. Like, you just do it because it's a natural part of you. Like, there's no futile resistance or anything. It's just, I wake up and this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. There's no thinking involved. There's no resistance that's going to come up, because you just have to do it. Just like every day you have to like brush your teeth, you have to start eating, right? And it's just a natural part of it.
Yeah, and it's important to keep that in like a set time frame, right? So, because then having those habits, restricting yourself to habits and routines might restrict your creativity, right? But as long as you've dedicated it to a certain block of time, then that's the time to get the routine or the habit done, and implement the system. And then once you're outside of that, on a break in the afternoons, that's when we're creative thinking. What's the next step? How can we grow the business? What else needs to be done?
Okay.
It's breaking it up.
That's a really interesting angle, actually, because a lot of people complain about productivity or productivity systems, saying that, well, if I follow that, I'm getting boxed in, and then I can't be creative because I'm sort of in this box. But what you just said was, if you schedule in certain times where you are sort of in that box, but you have plenty of other times where you are outside of the box, then you still have that creativity side of you.
That is correct. You absolutely. I mean, that's what the system does. Is your system is you're implementing your system in a set time frame. When you're outside of that, then you don't need to worry about the productivity of that, like whatever that goal is that you're going for. Like, it's a different time frame, and that time frame might be like that. The system for that time frame might be creativity. Might be, what else can we do to increase the conversion, to reach a different audience, to come up with different blog post ideas, like different writing ideas. So it's segmenting, like having kind of different time blocks for different purposes. Now,
one thing that sort of kills productivity is interruptions. And it's what we call one of the productivity kryptonites. Like, if you get interrupted, you lose track of what you were doing, and then it's really hard to get back on track and finishing what you were working on. So a lot of people always want to know how we deal with things, but I want to know, how do you guys deal with interruptions throughout the whole day?
I think it's, first of all, setting up systems where they don't happen. So trying to limit the interruptions initially. So if that means your cell phone, turning off your cell phone, setting it aside. But even ignoring them, as crazy as that sounds. Like even when Marc's in the zone sometimes and he's writing or he's just concentrating on something, I'll be talking and he just completely ignores me.
That's part of being married, right?
And so at that point I know he's in the zone and he's just ignoring me, and I'll just, okay, he's not ready to talk. I'll just go back to doing what I'm doing. But
That's extreme focus right there. That is a focus.
But I think it's almost interruptions, you can't control them, but trying to if you can. So trying to limit the interruptions before you even get started. So for me, it's shutting off my cell phone. If there's a period I don't want to be checking email, shutting off the email notifications.
Yep.
Like if I'm in the zone, I am trying to close all windows that have nothing to do with what I'm trying to do in that exact moment. So if it's social media, I'm closing the Word document, I'm closing everything else, and just focusing on that so it's all I see.
It's about being ruthless with distractions. It really is. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Well,
I mean,
and also being completely present in whatever you're doing. And not worrying about, what are we going to eat for dinner or what are we doing this weekend. I think it's being completely present.
yeah, that's what the system's about, right? I mean, that's what your habit, that time block is about. Focus. It's focusing on one particular thing. So in that time frame, you are eliminating distractions. You're present, and you're doing your thing. Eliminating distraction. I mean, when you have a phone ringing in the background, when you have your email notifications popping up on your computer screen while you're trying to write or do whatever it is that you do for work, I mean, that is not conducive of productivity. It's the opposite, right? I mean, even the most hardcore productivity nut's going to have trouble if sirens are going off in the background. And that's all these things are, is sirens. We don't need to be interrupted. So it's setting up the system for that block of time, being ruthless about eliminating distractions and sticking to it.
Now you mentioned being present. Like what does that mean exactly?
Ooh.
For me, it means really focusing in on what I'm doing in that exact moment and not worrying about anything else. So, like, for example, like I mentioned before, if I know I have to do Facebook updates, then that's all I'm focusing on, and I'm just on our business page, not on my personal page or looking to see what someone else is doing. So I'm completely, and that's probably when I'm the most productive, is when I am completely present and trying to eliminate all distractions and just focusing on that one task at hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the important thing here is to remember that presence is a choice. So presence is being here now, focusing on and this is something we talk a lot about, focusing on the current task at hand, not thinking and worrying, like not continuously worrying about other times, other people, other places, the expectations that these external factors have on us, and realizing that it is in fact a choice, that it's like you can choose to be present, and it's part of it's eliminating distractions, part of it's focusing the system. It's all kind of part of being present. The presence kind of sits at the foundation of it. And the choice, I mean, a crazy example is a lot of times we're worrying about other things, expectations of us, what people are thinking of us, and this all distracts us from getting done what we need to get done. And this is especially true when we're working in, an office environment, a public environment, even going to a coffee shop where there are other people. You're working, someone's looking over at you. What are they thinking? Is that distracting you? You can choose not to respond to that, and it is something you have to practice. But a great example is, if I was with Angel and we were in a restaurant setting, and God forbid she should fall down on the floor before me, collapse, and be gasping for air, and I knew that in order to resuscitate her back to life, I would just need to get down there and give her CPR. I mean, I would not be worrying about what other people thought of me, whether they thought my jeans were nice or my hair was okay. I'd be down on the floor in a split second, resuscitating her, like giving her CPR, helping her out. I would be, enough to get her there. I would be 100% present, focused. And that's an extreme example, of course, and maybe a little bit dramatic, but it is a choice. I mean, if in that moment when somebody you love falls on the floor and you can just jump down there and be 100% focused on them without worrying about anything else in the world, then it means that at any other time you can do the same thing. You just have to learn to do it.
And I think one thing we're just assuming that you'll do, but it needs to be talked about, is you're also taking action. So you're present, but you're not present in like, oh my gosh, something's going on. Then you're taking action.
Yeah.
Like you're jumping down, you're doing CPR. So I think it's being present, but not just being present and sitting there and knowing you have work to do and talking
Right.
about it or saying,
Yeah.
keeping that Word document open and say, okay, I'm present, I need to write an article today, but it's actually doing it. Like start writing or taking action immediately while you're being present.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I've noticed that as well is, for example, that's why I start off my day meditating for like 15 minutes or so, because then I can just like center myself and then be in a moment, be present. And then since I've set up my to-do list, I know exactly, okay, this is what I'm going to work on right now.
Right.
And there's nothing else that's, in my head, like trying to distract me. Like it's just that one thing. I'm going to start working on it. And then after that, like I can do the next thing or do something else, right? But it's getting to that sort of state of mind almost can be challenging if you've never sort of really thought about that or put a spotlight on, because it can be a foreign concept almost. But everyone has had that moment where they were in the zone, right? That's like the closest thing you can call being present, like being in the zone and like time flew by and you just had like no perception of other things going on. Like you didn't care about what was happening outside the building. You didn't care about what was going on in the other side of the country, or where you're gonna have for dinner. Or like you were just thinking about that one thing, being super engaged and just doing it.
And I would also say when you come out of that feeling, like you feel amazing. You're like, wow, I was really so focused that hours passed and you were so productive. So I love that feeling.
Yeah, I think we all do. I mean, we honestly all do. And meditation's a great way to do that, or call it meditation, call it breathing, whatever, but focusing on your breath, focusing on the moment for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it takes to just recenter yourself in the morning and in the evening. And it kind of gives you time to reflect too on why you're doing what
Absolutely.
you're doing.
The cool thing about that is that like you said, it's a choice. You could do it every single day. Like a lot of people think that it has to come to them. Like getting in the zone is something that will, come if I'm ready for it. But no, it's a choice. Like you can practice meditation every single day, center yourself, be present, and then get in the zone where you just forget about all these different things. Like you don't have to wait for it. It's like you can do it. You have the power to do it. And I think a lot of people just don't realize that. But that's why we talk about that in the blueprint a lot, is that you have that choice. If you do it every single day, you'll be amazingly productive, right? And that's what we want people to do, right? Now, just to switch gears a little bit, one thing you mentioned earlier is exercising. Like in the afternoon, you go for a run or for a walk, or you go to the gym. I know you're a big, fan of working out.
Yes.
And in the blueprint, we talk a lot about you have to exercise on a regular basis in order to sort of stay productive. But what's sort of your take on that?
I really believe that it's an issue of mind and body. We talked about the mind, laying down the systems, coming up with like focus points, meditation, presence. That's all mind. The mind is obviously part of the body, and so Angel and I are big proponents of exercise. We strongly believe it's actually a factor of 3. It's mind, body, and nutrition. You've got to have your body fueled with the right nutrition. You've got to be exercising and keeping your body in shape so that your mind can function properly and that we can actually implement everything we've talked about here today. So yeah, on a day-to-day basis, it's I like to break up my day with exercise. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the afternoon. But getting in, a lot of people will work out, 3 days a week, 4 days a week. I'm kind of like, rather than work out a longer period of time, a few days a week, Angel and I actually both typically work out in like 30-minute segments almost every day. And we use that for exercise. Maybe that's a jog, maybe that's 30 minutes at the gym. Maybe it's going over, there's some pull-up bars here, and we'll go over and work out on some of that equipment. But getting that 30 minutes in, really, it's just beneficial every single day to break up your day and to keep your body healthy.
Yeah, and I would honestly say, like, during those periods where I know I don't have to think about work is honestly where I'm most creative, when I am exercising or doing a simple household task like doing the dishes or taking a shower. I find that that's sometimes when my best ideas come to me. So I think that release of knowing you're not working and you're not forced to be productive is when I get my best ideas, and when my mind is willing to flow on its own easily without being forced.
Yeah, that's just such a great point. So it's not just the exercise leading to a healthy body, but it's actually in the moment. The exercise breaks up your mental activity. It helps you refocus. It clears your mind. It really gets you recentered on other things, which then invokes creativity. Yeah. So it's kind of like you've got a healthy body to support your mind, and that exercise, especially like 30 minutes a day, really kind of mixes things up for you.
Now, one thing I find very important as well is sort of the nutrition aspect of that. Like, if, like you said, there's this mind-body connection, and nutrition plays a role in that as well. And obviously, sleeping well plays an important role, because if you don't get enough sleep, you'll wake up grumpy and you're not feeling that great, and then starting off your day like that is totally unproductive. But then also, making sure you eat the right foods, and and you time it well, and things like that is crucially important. And I cannot stress enough how important that is. So, but I want to switch gears for a moment, because one of the biggest complaints is email, right?
Ooh.
Email, is a time sucker, as we call it. Takes up 2, 3, even 5 hours a day for some people. Especially people who have to deal with hundreds of emails every single day. So what does email look like for you? How do you guys manage it? Because I know you guys have a huge audience. You guys are always getting emails from people, and people are bugging you all the time, friends and family. I am. So how do you guys manage that? Because I've noticed every time I email you guys, I always get a response back pretty fast.
Yeah. To be honest, I like to dedicate time just to email, so I'm not constantly checking it, every 10 minutes. So I like to set up a time, first thing in the morning, early afternoon, and then before I shut down for the night. So I try to dedicate certain times to go in there, check email, and respond. Something I do too is, if I'm going to read it, I need to respond to it right then and there. I am guilty of, in the past, reading an email and then saying, oh, I'll just respond to it later, and that later never happens. I just forget about it, it gets to the bottom of the email list, and I am definitely guilty of that. So I've made my own personal rule that if I have time to open it and read it, I have time to respond to it.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, I couldn't say it any better. It's about closing the open loops. So if you're going to go into an email, or into your email inbox, I mean, obviously you've got all these potential messages to look at. Do not open a message if you don't intend to read it. Don't open it if you don't intend to close it. Don't read it if you don't intend to respond. So it's really about closing. If you're going to open the loop, you're going to close the loop. And that kind of goes back to David Allen's 2-minute rule, which is any task that you have in front of you, if it takes less than 2 minutes to do, just do it. Yeah. So you don't want to open a 2-minute task if you're not going to complete a 2-minute task. Yeah. Otherwise, checking email is no longer productive, because checking email can be very productive, but it becomes a distraction. We find ourselves getting frustrated with whatever we're doing, I'm stumped on finishing off this paragraph I'm working on, so let me check email. And that's the wrong way to do it. Like Angel said, you have a set time. That's when you check your email. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, for whatever that duration of time is. An Angel, I think it's probably about a half hour. She does email in the morning, half hour in the afternoon, and that's it. And then you need to get focused on the other stuff. Do not let it be something that is popping up. Yeah, especially pop-ups. Oh my goodness. You have your email application up and you're getting little pop-ups at the bottom. That's the last thing you want. Yeah. Close it out, eliminate that distraction, set a time for it.
And just make sure that if you're going in there to check it, respond to it. I mean, like you said, the open loop, sometimes we use that distraction as free time. I got to check my email. Yeah. And you get sucked in and you're not responding to anyone. You're just, it's that time sucker. It's just pulling you away. And you have no intention of responding to anyone because you're looking at it as a break.
Correct.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, guys, I really want to thank you for being on today. If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
You can go to marcandangel.com. You just Google Marc and Angel and you'll find us. We look forward to interacting with you.
Now, you also released a book recently, is that
Yes,
correct?
We did. It's titled 1,000 Little Things Happy, Successful People Do Differently.
Yep. And it's really a highlight of our top articles. So using our analytics to look at what articles were read the most, which ones were shared the most via the various social networks. We took the highlights of both list-style posts and short stories on the topics of happiness, productivity, success, goals. We cover all of it. And it's a great, almost like a great quick reference. You could jump to a specific section like happiness and read an article, read a section, read a short story, and kind of remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. Get yourself that quick dose of inspiration. And so you can get it on Amazon or on our website, marcandangel.com/book.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that you check out their website, marcandangel.com, and definitely check out their book as well. I can definitely recommend it. Now, guys, thanks again for being on today,
Thank you
and
for having us.
I
Yeah,
hope
thank
you
you.
enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.